What are we talking about today?
Welcome back to Hintzes in the house. You can see we have a change of scenery this week. We've moved to a separate part of our house.
Let's address the elephant in the room, which is actually a bison.
All right.
This is a bison, not a buffalo. Don't let anyone
Bison.
tell you. It's a bison, not an American buffalo.
Bison.
Buffalo suck. Bison are awesome.
All right, well, you don't have to be that opinionated about it.
I mean, you know, that silly songs with Larry song that's like...
Water buffalo.
Everyone's got a
That's
water
a different
buffalo.
thing.
Well, I mean, water buffalo is all the same family. Whereas you
Sure.
have bison. Anyways, he's like,
All right.
yours is this. And I'm like, mine doesn't exist because I hate buffalo.
Okay. It's yours is fast and mine is slow. Anyway, we are
And
not
mine
here
is dead.
to talk about Veggie Tales. We are here to talk about cities that we have lived in.
Oh, cities.
Cities. So, yeah, anyone that's known me for any length of time can tell you I've lived in a lot of places. So I'm just going to give like drive-by overview so that we can talk about the cities that we've lived in together and compare and contrast them. So, I was born. I grew up in California-ish. I also grew up in New York and North Carolina, but I lived in Torrance, or I was born in Torrance. I lived in Redondo Beach for quite some time. My memories of my childhood there were fond, but like I feel like if going back as an adult would be not a great time because traffic and smog and people. Then we moved to the eastern part of the state, the Mojave Desert, Palmdale, Lancaster area. Disgustingly hot. Not much to report. Then I moved to upstate New York. I lived in a tiny town called Caro Durham. The most exciting thing to do there was go roller skating around the corner from my house. It was a fun time, really. Like Walmart was like a half an hour drive. Nothing for miles.
I mean, whatever.
Great. So that was New York. And then I moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, where I lived and spent 7 years. I would say those were my more formative years. We moved there when I was like 11, and I lived there until I was 17. So definitely a formative time for me. I didn't enjoy it at the time because I was like, this is a small town. I need to get out. And now I live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So
Right.
There's that. But then I moved from there, and then I moved to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And that's where you come in.
I was born in South Florida.
Yep.
And then I lived there until I was 20. And then we moved to Oklahoma for a couple of months. And then we moved to South Dakota.
You lived there until you were 22.
So okay, sure, whatever it was. I basically lived in South Florida my entire life. Minus, if you count the first 2 years of my life, I technically lived in Russia, in the motherland. My parents were missionaries, for anyone who doesn't know, at the time. And I have a hole in my shirt.
Aw, I like that shirt.
My parents were missionaries in Moscow, Russia, and planted a church. And they had to take me with them because I was
Small.
6 weeks old. Couldn't really live by myself yet.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went back. They went back after some period of time.
Yeah, like 2 years later, roughly.
And then you lived in Florida. I was a full-blown... Just kidding, I was 18, 17. I was a half-blown adult. That's not a phrase.
It's not using these weird phrases anymore.
When I moved to South Florida. So I went into it with eyes open of like, I have very distinct memories and very obvious memories. It's not like it was this fuzzy time. The first 2 years I was living in like apartments on like they were sectioned for the school. So it wasn't really like living in South Florida kind of, because it was this own little bubble of a world.
Right.
But then once I was done with school and started having to like live out on my own in different and various apartments, that was a wild, wild time.
Well, and not only did I live in South Florida my entire life, I lived in the same house in South Florida my entire life until we got married and moved into an apartment. That was the first time I'd ever not lived in the same house.
Which I didn't believe you at first when you told me that. I was like, yeah, okay, because I
don't know why you wouldn't believe
because
that.
I just like moved so much. It was unfathomable to me.
Right, but I mean, still, if I said that was how it was, why wouldn't you just be like, oh, okay.
Anyway, and then I saw home videos of you running around like the same furniture, and I was like, what the heck is happening?
Yeah.
And you were much smaller, and it was very, like, it was a wild time. So, yeah, South Florida is, oh, Lord have mercy. It's humid. Very, very humid. What you hear about it is true. It's disgusting. There's like a rainstorm every day at like 4 p.m. for like 30 minutes and then it's over.
It's not every day. I mean, it rains a lot. It rains a lot more in South Florida than it does in South Dakota.
Yeah.
If I'm comparing and contrasting. But as far as like loads of rain, I never felt like it rained
just
so
like you're
much.
walking around in a swamp all the time. Well, I had a couple of
I mean,
like,
you realize what the Everglades is, right? It's basically a swamp.
yes. I had a couple of life rules for living in South Florida, and rule number 1 was never leave your umbrella in the car. And the reason it was never leave your umbrella in the car is because you could, like, leave your umbrella in the car, and then I had this happen to me where I left it in the car thinking, I'm only going to be in my apartment for, like, 10 minutes. And I was, and I came back out, and it was pouring, and my umbrella was in the car, not on my person.
You see, but
it was terrible.
In Florida, had a garden. And I distinctly remember having to water that thing pretty much every single day.
I don't know.
Because it didn't rain a lot or enough to keep it watered most of the time.
I just remember it feeling like every day at 4 p.m. it was pouring for like 30 minutes. And
Definitely not. Can confirm as a born
and
raised Floridian.
Native Floridian, I'm a liar.
It did not rain
Great.
Every single day on the
It rained enough for me to notice.
It rained a lot.
A lot.
But, I mean, it didn't rain as nearly as much as what some people would have you think.
It was disgustingly hot constantly. You got maybe 1 week in December where it was like in the 60s.
It was fine.
And that was winter.
You get used to heat.
Exactly. You were born and raised there. I was not.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I had humid in...
Right. You're also not going to die in 15 minutes if you're outside when it's hot.
Well, you might.
Whereas here, you go outside and it's like minus 20, feels like minus 40.
That's true.
You go outside without any protection on, you're going to be dead in like 15 minutes.
True.
So...
what else about South Florida? The people were in a hurry. I don't want to say they were mean. I mean, they were
That's
mean.
just big city.
Yeah, and I think that's just what it was. But everyone was always in a hurry, and there was always loads of traffic. Like, it took you 20 minutes to get anywhere. Even if you were just going a half a mile away, it was going to take you 20 minutes. And I think, like you said, that's just city.
Church was like 15 minutes away.
Debatable. I always gave myself 20 minutes to go anywhere. I still give myself 20 minutes to go anywhere, even if it's like 10 minutes away.
I don't live my life where I'm like, okay, my phone says I can be there in 18 minutes, so I'm going to leave 18 minutes before I can get there. Like, yeah, I leave a buffer time.
I always leave a buffer time for 2 reasons. 1, I need time to get lost, and 2, I need time to be early. So it's like 5 minutes-ish to get lost, 5 minutes-ish to be early, which technically leaves me, I get like 10 minutes earlier than I have to actually leave. It's a weird thing in my brain. But I get lost very easily, so I have built-in time. Yeah, much of the rest of my South Florida memories are just not, like, as far as living there is concerned and being like a citizen, right? Not very good necessarily, not terrible, but not like excellent or, noteworthy. I do remember being able to get, for our honeymoon, being able to get Florida resident passes for Disney. Because we were both Florida residents. That was nice. Little park there. But other than that, I don't remember, like, there wasn't a whole overwhelmingly positives. Oh, and access to ethnic hair care was, like, very easy in South Florida. I will say that.
Also, access to the beach on...
Oh, yeah. The beach. But you don't like the beach, so I just don't even think of the beach as a thing that we do. I love going to the
beach.
You love going to the beach when it's raining.
I went to the beach when it was sunny plenty of times. Yeah, I like it to be cloudy when I go to the beach so I don't get sunburned and develop skin cancer, thank you.
Yeah, but the sunscreen you're wearing also gives you skin cancer, thank you.
Okay, yeah, so great. So if it's cloudy, I don't have to wear sunscreen. So then I don't get
you still have to wear sunscreen.
Or I don't get cancer. So it's great,
Not the point. The beach is a nice perk of South Florida. When you live there, you don't appreciate it. You're just like, yeah, whatever, I have the beach. When you live in somewhere like South Dakota and you're landlocked, you're like, I want water, it's so hot. So, like, no, there was a beauty supply store on, like, every corner in South Florida. 7-Eleven, Slurpees. Oh. The things we don't have up here.
Do we not have 7-Eleven too?
No.
Not even one? Are you sure?
Not even one. I know.
Yeah, we got Casey's. So.
Yeah, that's true. I think I would take Casey's over 7-Eleven probably. Because Casey's has a lot more to
Slurpees
offer.
are not that good. Slurpees in general are not that
Slurpees are
good.
just nostalgic, I think. I don't think
sure,
they're actually
but they always
good.
separate. The ice always flows to the
But I
top
think
and the
that's
liquid on
all
the bottom.
ices.
That's what I'm saying. Ices in general are usually not good.
Slurpees
you plate
are
them up to be this
specifically 7-Eleven
awesome
branded.
thing. Yeah.
Other things that exist in South Florida that don't exist in South Dakota.
Is that what we're doing?
I don't know. We can do whatever we want. Well, then let's just talk about... Okay, we can talk about that in a minute. But next place that we both lived together was Oklahoma City.
Yeah, for a short time.
For a short time. I think I liked it because I knew I was only going to be there for a short time. Like, I don't think I would want to permanently live there. Sorry, all you Oklahoman people. But...
yeah, I would never live in Oklahoma unless you forced me at gunpoint. And then I would probably be just like,
well,
okay, kill me.
the place that we stayed, it was paid for, like, reimbursed by the government because of, your job.
Yeah, sure.
So, nice place. No complaints with that or anything. It was really close to a lot of central things and activities to do. I ended up working at Levi's, the shirt that you're wearing. I worked at the Levi Strauss outlet. Very fun job for me. And you were at school. So, but that was just 3 months, and it actually ended up being a really good chunk of time for me to work because you started class at like the end of September and we were leaving in like December. So I was a seasonal hire, like literally. So it was really good timing.
Well, and apparently too, I didn't particularly like Oklahoma City. I don't think I'd ever go back. They have like tornadoes and that like, kind of stuff all the time. Like when I went back to Oklahoma City for like a month later on, there was one night where it was just like really bad storms and tornadoes and thunderstorms, and I was basically living in a shipping container at the time. So I was like, well, if a tornado hits, I'm dead.
Yeah.
I also lived like right down there were like cows like right down the street, and they would make a lot of noise when I was trying to go to sleep at night. It was not a great experience, return trip. But it wasn't a great experience first trip.
Time, yeah.
But also apparently so you worked in the strip mall, but
the outlet mall, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. There was also that other like Walmart mall area.
Oh,
where there was like a Walmart and Chick-fil-A and Qdoba and
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, like all the restaurants, and then like a couple other. That was also apparently like a really high human trafficking area.
Didn't know that.
Because one of the guys I was going to school with was saying that his wife had like looked at that information, and it was like, be careful about this area. It's apparently a very
grateful I didn't look
high
up that
human
information.
traffic. Pretty sure that we had that conversation.
One good thing going for it, and that was Bricktown. We liked Bricktown.
Yeah, that was like just essentially downtown.
Yeah.
Like
it was. I mean, it just was cool. A lot of it was brick, obviously.
Right.
A lot of cool restaurants.
It was a cool vibe. I really liked. They had like that little canal that ran through.
Yeah. Fun place to like walk and.
Yeah, you could like walk by the canal, and there were restaurants right on the canal and other.
Yeah.
Things like that, and then there was like the movie theater downtown.
Yeah.
It's back when we were going to movies.
Rip.
Before the dark time.
Truly. So Oklahoma City, not bad, not great. Probably like a 5 out of 10. I wouldn't put it lower than that.
Probably like a 2 out of 10.
Ooh.
Don't think I'd ever go back.
Great. I'd probably give Florida like a 7 out of 10 because your family is still there. And that's the only reason. Okay. Your family is the 2 or 3 points on it.
Well, Scotty's there too, so...
He counts. He's family.
Okay, but he only bumps it up to a 7?
Yeah. Yeah. From like a 4. It's your family members that bump it from like a 4 to a 7.
No, they don't even bump it up 50%.
Rip. And then we lived here. So when we were leaving Oklahoma City, they kind of give you this list because a lot of times people are like, "Why do you live in South Dakota? You lived in South Florida." And like,
yeah, that's the most common.
Here's the thing: no one leaves South Florida voluntarily. I'm just telling you that right now.
Well, it's just funny because people, whenever I am talking to people and they're like, "Oh, where are you from?" and I say South Florida because that's where I'm from. They're always like shocked, and then they're like, "How did you end up in South Dakota?"
Every time.
Well, I was forced at gunpoint.
Pretty much. I mean, it was the lesser of the evils at the time. So after you graduate from the academy, it's a pass-fail system. Ethan passed, obviously, because he's very smart.
Okay.
And he had this list. He actually got to bring it home.
Street smarts.
That doesn't always happen. His final was like over a weekend or something like that. So he actually got to bring the list home to me. And we got to look at it together. And it was the lesser of the evils. There were some not... just nowhere land
Most of the
places.
list was west.
Yep.
or like, middle of the United States and west was most of the list. There weren't really many options in the southeast region to begin with, and then even less options that I wanted to entertain as places to live.
Not great. Great.
We didn't have a good list.
So we ended up here. I would like
because
to...
Because the FAA is smart and knows how to place employees.
Rip.
They're like, why does everyone want to transfer when they get to a facility? Maybe because my parents and family live like in South Florida and I live in South Dakota now?
Yeah. Not great. I will let everyone know, sorry to say, we did not know that Mount Rushmore was in the state of South Dakota until we were driving
first off, I'm going to be honest, didn't even know South Dakota existed, Like, it was one of those states that if you asked me to name all 50 states, I'd never name North and South Dakota.
Yeah.
Like, they would have just totally slipped my mind as things that existed. And then, when we drove across the border, it was like home of
great
Mount
faces,
Rushmore.
great places, Mount Rushmore state. And we were like, I'm sorry, the Mount Rushmore?
I was like, the Mount Rushmore? Like, not like some, like,
one?
touristy, like, Vegas Mount Rushmore,
Nope. It turns out it's true. It was it's 6 hours across the state from us.
It's on the west side of the state. We live on, like, the very southeasterly corner of the state as you can get.
It was a wild.
Also, thought that it would be a lot more mountainous here.
Oh,
Again,
for sure.
The west side of the state, kind of mountainous. Not like super big mountains,
we are flat.
Yeah, it's a real plain state.
Flat.
Real plain.
Truly. Yeah, South Dakota. I mean, most of the time people don't know that there are people that live here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hear that a lot. There's people up there? Like, you live there? And I mean, I think one of the main things that South Dakotans will agree, not all of the time, but one of the main things is they'll be like, at least we're not North Dakota. And I mean, that's true.
North Dakota. I hate those guys.
There's some people from North Dakota, so you have to be kind of respectful, like that live here, but they got
out.
Left
to North Dakota because it sucks.
And I will say, most people that you talk to in South Dakota, if they say, "Oh, I'm not from here," they are from another Midwestern state. They are from Iowa. They are from North Dakota. They are from Nebraska. Like,
well, it's also funny, like when you talk to people and they talk about how they moved to Sioux Falls because it was like they grew up in like a small town, so they moved to like the big city, and it's like. Sioux Falls is not like a big, you know what a big city is, right? Like,
I've ever met a big
but they're coming
city.
From like a couple hundred community,
it's kind of
versus however many. We almost have like almost 100,000.
I think it's almost 2. It's wild. It's a lot.
It's not
Sioux Falls is South Dakota's largest state, South Dakota's largest city.
Right, but.
But it's because it's the largest singular city. On the west side of the state, there's Rapid City and... Oh, what's the other one? It's right there. They're like next to each other. Okay, whatever. Rapid City. It's like a tri-state area sort of thing. And so there's like 3 or 4 different ones that like make up that side of the state. That would be like a larger city if they were all one, but they're not.
Right.
So... that makes Sioux Falls the largest city in South Dakota, which is so crazy to me. Anytime anyone tells me something that's like a fact about the whole state of South Dakota that has to do with Sioux Falls, I'm like, what? Like, you are insane. Someone told me the other day that in Sioux Falls, we have like the best Italian restaurant in the state. And I was like, the whole state? What?
Again, it's not very populous.
Right.
So,
it's just which is
kind of nice.
Well, the thing is with Sioux Falls is you can get end to end in 20 minutes. You're not going anywhere that's longer than 20 minutes away. You're out of the loop. There's a loop for the interstates create a circle. You're out of that in 20 minutes.
The problem,
kind of wild.
The biggest culture shock, anyways, for me was the cold and
oh my
the
gosh,
snow.
Yeah.
Obviously,
we got a
little
teeny temperature, like or what is the word, like temping in Oklahoma. It
temping.
Well, like getting us adjust. Okay, whatever.
Temping.
A little tiny bit of adjustment to the temperature when we lived in Oklahoma because we did live there in like
that was
fall
mainly
kind of winter. We got like a teeny bit of snow,
windy.
And it was really windy in Oklahoma. Yeah,
that was the main
thing. And a teeny bit of snow and a teeny bit of cold, and it kind of like we were like okay, like blah, and then we got up here. And so I had like arranged for us to have a hotel because we didn't know where we were going to live. So I arranged for us to have a hotel for a week before we got into an apartment. And we check in and I have on like a pea coat, like nothing coat, no hood, no puff, nothing. And you had on like a hoodie. Maybe you also had on a pea coat. I don't know. We check into the front desk and we get all our stuff and she's...
It was cold. I remember when we got here.
Yeah.
It was January 1st.
Yep.
But it was probably freezing, but it wasn't like freezing, if you know what I'm saying.
Right. And we check in and the lady goes, like, you know, she's like, where are you from? What are you doing? All these things. And then she's like, oh, do you guys have coats? And we're like, well, we have this, like thinking this is a coat. And she was like, you're going to need to buy a coat.
Right. Moving to South Dakota, I knew that the coats that I had from Florida were not going to cut it in winter weather. Well, because then she proceeded to tell us
the week before we got here. Like,
it was like minus 40.
Yeah. And I was like,
I don't remember if she said that was with wind chill or not. Because, I mean...
Yeah.
Honestly, freezing is cold.
Yeah.
Obviously. And then, like, yeah, as it gets colder, it's cold. But, like, it's really the wind chill that, like, cause, like, once it gets cold, it's just cold. But when you get the wind on top of it, then it gets really cold. Then it's, colder. Like, bone-chillingly cold.
It's a little bit wild. But that first winter wasn't as bad. It was, like, really, really bad before we got here. And then I don't remember it being, like, awful. I do remember it snowed on May 1st that first year. And I said, what did we do? And then the next winter, I remember not being so bad. Last winter was very, very mild. Knock on wood that this winter is not horrendous for us. But it kind of fluctuates and you get used to the rhythms of things and you're just like, okay, it's cold. And you have to realize too, in South Dakota, winter is 6 months. It starts in October and it ends in April. Like, it is 6 months. Like, there is no...
Yeah, sort of. It can have some really cold days in October, but I wouldn't say winter starts in October.
Winter starts when snow starts in my brain, and it has definitely snowed in October on more than one occasion.
Maybe. I don't remember.
So, the long story short, it's cold. That's a huge culture shock up here in South Dakota.
Also, no lizards.
No lizards.
No alligators.
Nope.
No,
wildlife
basically
is
no
different.
reptiles. I mean, there are some snakes.
Black squirrels.
There are black squirrels, which is very odd.
Yep.
First time I saw one, I was like, what is that animal? Like, it's a squirrel. Just like a jet black squirrel. Like,
yep.
I think we were in Minneapolis first time I saw a black squirrel.
Oh, yeah. A wild time. So just some interesting things there.
Or not no bugs, but there's no, like, cockroaches.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say about South Florida is, like, it doesn't matter where you live in South Florida, you're getting cockroaches.
Yeah.
And a lot of them.
I mean, not a lot of them, but...
Well...
Maybe if you live at the dump, yeah, a lot of them.
I lived on the 4th floor and they were still in my apartment.
Yeah, because there are cockroaches.
What else about South Dakota is worth noting? I will say, too, you take, like, one wrong turn and you're in a cornfield for a half an hour. Like, I did that one time driving home. I missed my turn and it took me this real roundabout way and it took me actually, like, 15-ish minutes and it was just, like, corn forever. Sometimes, too, depending on where you are, you'll be driving on a paved road and all of a sudden it's unpaved for, like, 3 miles and you're like, what in the world?
That is kind of annoying, like, when you're just driving around and it's like, oh, and here's just, like, a dirt road that is... like a major road, but it's a dirt road, and it's like, why? Like,
exactly.
Is it not paved?
Yeah, and I've had some not so good experiences on dirt roads post snow with like lots of divots and stuff in them, and then like water on both sides. We have experienced a little bit of flooding, but not a lot. So one of the things that happened in, I think it was 2019, is there was, I call it the snow flood. So it was just snow on snow for a long time because it wasn't warming up enough for the snow to melt. And then we got a rain, not a snow, and it got hot.
Right. It warmed up, not enough to like thaw anything. So it rained a lot. I mean, I don't know a lot, but it rained, which melted the snow. And then on top of that, the rain created water. Yeah. And the ground was still frozen, so the water had nowhere to go. Yeah. So there was a lot of flooding that year.
There was flooding for like months.
Yeah, like the Big Sioux was like super really, overflowing. Really crazy.
Like
and now we're in like a drought.
Yeah, right. And then everyone's basement flooded, I remember, because we were kind of house hunting at that time. And so we were like, we don't know if this basement's going to be good or not. And it's like everybody's basement flooded, like across the board. Because it was such a freak stacking of events that led to so much extra water. That was kind of wild. But that's not normal. It's odd because people are like, oh, what natural disasters do you have in South Dakota? Blizzards, tornadoes, sometimes flooding. Anything is possible. We had a tornado last year, was it? Or 2 years ago?
I think it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Randomly. Just very random. Tore up some stuff on the west side of town. Weird. And then and then blizzards. I didn't really know what to expect of a blizzard. The way I will describe a blizzard is a snow hurricane.
Sure.
Because I'm relatively used to hurricanes in South Florida. Not super used to them, but like kind of aware. High winds, high precipitation, couple of days, that sort of thing.
Right.
You don't want to go outside if you don't have to. That's a blizzard. It's just snow and ice instead, which is worse, arguably, because it sticks around longer. I mean, hurricanes will lead to flooding, but blizzards leave your roads frozen. So that's
right. I was going to say
worse.
driving on snow. Driving in a blizzard is just not fun.
You can't see anything. Like the same way that rain, like, I don't know, blocks your vision like that. Everything is just white in front of you for miles on end when there's snowstorms like that, and it's rough. So you just hunker down. You make sure you have firewood and movies and books and pets, and you just don't do anything.
Some things.
So that's what it's been like living in all of the different cities we've lived in. Now we live in South Dakota, and we're happily stuck. I don't have plans to go anywhere anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
We've got good friends and a good house.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just need a lot.
It's okay.
We like our house.
Yeah, I don't got really a problem with the house per se.
Yeah.
It just would be nice to be close to family.
I agree. Yeah. Sometimes it feels like a pipe dream. Thanks, FAA.
I could literally put in paperwork to transfer and most likely get it right now.
Nah.
And don't complain about it.
You were complaining. You'd rather be close to family. Not that I wouldn't. I love you, family.
No, I was saying I'd like to transfer, and you're like, yeah, but it's basically impossible, FAA. And it's like, well, now would be the time to do it when we're super staffed.
Yeah.
Super staffed.
All right. Well, that's that. Thanks for tuning in to listen to us talk about the cities we've lived in.
Living in places.
Doing the things.
Great faces. Some faces are okay. There's a lot of ugly people out there.
Rib.